Yo, it's good to see Sidetracked. I'm Kyler. So, if you've been an anime fan for as long as I have, also known as all of my life, and you also enjoyed the occasional shonen battle punch anime, then you would have seen some changes happening in the shonen anime sphere as of recently. It's shonen anime is just not the same anymore. Not to say that's a completely bad thing in some aspects, but I feel like there's one quintessential thing that shonen is missing. Shonen anime has lost that shonen feeling. Now, what do I mean by this? Things that made classic shonen shows just quintessential and so memorable, things that made me fall in love with shonen anime, things that happened in shows like your big three, your Bleaches, your Narutos, your One Piece, and the father of modern shonen, Dragon Ball, your Hunter x Hunters, your Yu Yu Hakusho's. Those things aren't present in your typical new gen shonen anime. You'd be hard pressed to find moments in shows like Jujutsu Kaisen, Black Clover, My Hero Academia that hit as hard as moments in some of your old classic shonens. And this isn't a thing for me to say that, oh, old gen shonens are all the best, all these new shows suck, or I'm not doing that. But I'm gonna play some clips from some old shonen shows and some new shonen shows, and you tell me if you can spot the difference. But given that this is a video and I can't actually hear your response, I'm going to tell you afterwards. So, here it goes. Did you see it? Did you notice it? Notice what happened? Well, I'm gonna tell you what it is. Thing that shonen anime is missing now more than ever: time. Now, what do I mean by this? That shows move too fast. This results in shows feeling less raw, the emotions and the emotional moments are less impactful and they're less memorable. Moments aren't built to anymore. They're not given the proper time to breathe, and sometimes things just happen and we're told to accept them without first giving them the proper time to process the events and result in actual long-lasting moments. Now you might be sitting there saying, old shonen, their problems. That's your voice, by the way. Old shonen, their problems, their pacing is so bad, they're so slow. Naruto, I had to sit there and watch that damn swing. I've seen so many flashbacks. Listen, I'm gonna explain it to you. And it all starts with shonen's poor pacing problem. Now, shonen anime have always had poor pacing, and this resulted from back in the day, which they have recently fixed, or is attempted to fix with the arrival of seasonal anime. Before, shonen anime would just air weekly, and so in order to stop them from catching up to the manga, they would release filler content, otherwise known as wasting your time. And this filler content could sometimes be placed in the middle of an episode. Sometimes they could be whole episodes. And the removal of whole episodes or even filler arcs was definitely a good decision. And the removal of things that waste your time was a good decision. But sometimes shows would just move slower. And this, in some cases, could slow down the pace of the show, make you lose interest or boredom. But if you're like me, and like a lot of people who fell in love with these shows, it would result in the moments hitting harder. Let me show you what I mean. Because I don't think you're getting me. I don't think you believe me. I'm gonna have to show this to you. So let's start with everybody's new favorite shonen anime that I cannot stand. I genuinely hate this. I don't see how anybody could actually genuinely like this show. Jujutsu Kaisen. The special grade curses in Jujutsu Kaisen are actually a joke. In the beginning of the show, we are shown that these curses are supposed to be dangerous, the most powerful curses that any sorcerer could ever hope to fight. These are crazy, super crazy things that these kids aren't even, they're not on their level. In the beginning of the show, in fact, all 3 of our main protagonists get destroyed by just one of these special grade curses. It's shown that they really can't do much to stop them. Now, at the end of the show, however, just 25 short episodes later of doing barely nothing and not getting stronger, really even smarter at all, they are shown to take out these special grade curses with almost relative ease. They're not even breaking a sweat. It's so easy for them. It's basically light work. And for a lot of people, somehow, this moment seemed to be satisfying. But if you're like me, this moment rang hollow. It didn't feel earned. Seeing Itadori blow through a bunch of special grade curses when, in reality, he hadn't even received much training in the ways of Jujutsu sorcery at that point, felt kind of lifeless. Now let's compare this to a similar show that Jujutsu Kaisen takes a lot of its breath from, Bleach. In Bleach, at the end of the Substitute arc, Ichigo has his first encounter with Byakuya Kuchiki and Ranjiaba, and Ichigo gets absolutely destroyed. He gets eviscerated. It's not even fair, not even close. He has no hope of fighting these guys. Now, after this, Ichigo embarks on a quest to break into the Soul Society and fight the captains and save Rukia from execution. Along the way, he encounters a few foes that are near captain level, who he is struggling with. And at this point, I think it's been like maybe 10 episodes later. I can't remember exactly. It hasn't been that long. And he's struggling with lieutenant level people. And after that, he has to fight Kenpachi Zaraki, captain of squad 10, or maybe he's squad 11. I don't know. I don't remember. It's been a second since I watched Bleach. Fights Captain Kenpachi Zaraki. Most of this fight, he is running scared and afraid. Now, before he even got to Soul Society, he received some intense training from his master, Kisuke Urahara. Now, while not being an incredibly long amount of time, it doesn't need to be. It's shown that Ichigo is training hard, and Ichigo is training in a difficult and very intelligent way in order to increase his spiritual power much faster than it would normally, and to regain his soul reaper abilities. Since this is shown, even though Ichigo wasn't even able to hold a finger to Byakuya Kuchiki beforehand, he's now able to almost go toe-to-toe with a captain, albeit weaker, Kenpachi Zaraki, but he's still able to fight him. And he still gets destroyed by Byakuya Kuchiki again before he has to come back after some even more intense and specially modified training that's supposed to increase his spiritual pressure even faster and more abnormally than before, in order to be able to hold a candle to Byakuya Kuchiki, and then he still loses the fight. And that's about 40 episodes of story. Over 40 episodes, Ichigo's going to the Soul Society, fighting people, leveling up, fighting against stronger and stronger opponents, learning new ways to fight, becoming stronger, and he's still not able to fight one of the strongest people in the guild. If this was Jujutsu Kaisen, however, Itadori would have destroyed Byakuya Kuchiki in half that time. Now, I'm not saying that Jujutsu Kaisen needs to be more episodes. What I am saying is Jujutsu Kaisen didn't show Itadori being given the proper time and or training to be able to go against these special grades, especially when he was introduced to the Jujutsu world not that long ago, even before this event. And he seems to be on the same level as Fushiguro and Nobara, who have been in this since they were kids. Now, to give another example, if that one didn't quite stick, if that one didn't quite tickle your fancy, let's look at another popular show, one that I hate much less, My Hero Academia. Now, in the UA Sports Festival arc, which is effectively My Hero Academia's tournament arc, the titular students of Class 1A and UA High School are put up against each other in one-on-one matches. And these one-on-one matches are effectively breezed by. Damn near every single one of them takes half an episode or less to showcase these students' powers, these students that we're supposed to care about and watch their growth. They blitz past them. They don't really show them effectively. They don't take the time to properly develop all of these characters. While I will give My Hero Academia credit, they do try to give each character something to do. They don't give each character nearly as much time as any other character. 2 full episodes are devoted to Deku and Todoroki's fight. And you may say, yeah, sure, he's the main character. That's perfectly fine. Well, I agree. He should be given more time than the other characters. But other characters are given such substantially less time. It's hard for this entire tournament arc to feel like a tournament arc. When people think of the UA Sports Festival arc, they're really only thinking of Deku versus Todoroki. It's not as impactful of a story as this anime that I'm about to compare it to, Naruto. In Naruto, the Chunin exams arc, which is basically the same thing as the UA Sports Festival effectively, just as in the tournament arc. A lot of kids from all the villages come together to fight to become a Chunin, including 12 of our very own Konoha ninja that we are supposed to care for. Now, each and every one of these ninja, no matter how insignificant in the story, is given at least a bit of a time to shine. Most of the time, whole episodes to shine for their fights, for their moments, and get us to care. They give proper time to each of these characters to flesh them out. Now, I understand that Deku is the main character of My Hero, and we need to spend more time with him, and these characters aren't as important in the long run. But what I'm saying is, if you're going to make a story arc in which you want to showcase every single character in your main roster, showcase every single character in your main roster. Don't breeze past a lot of these characters, insignificant their moments and really only focusing on one thing. Instead, showcase all their scenes. The most infamous fight from the Chunin exams, Rock Lee versus Gaara, is between one non-main character and the arc villain. Rock Lee is not the main character of the story, and yet that is the most talked about fight from the entirety of that arc. Even more so than the Naruto versus Gaara climax, which personally I prefer just a little bit more. But point is that Naruto's Chunin exams in the end of the day is more memorable and a better arc than the UA Sports Festival because it does what it set out to do better. They show the growth of the characters in a satisfying way, and they highlight all of the characters in a way that allows the audience to care for all of them. If you're going to introduce all of these characters, you need to be able to utilize them better. Now, Kishimaru does give up on these characters a lot later in the story, but as for right now, at the very least, they are shown prominently and highlighted very well and given a lot of great moments. And you can't deny that this, in fact, for that reason, shown by the fantastic Rock Lee and Gaara fight, is one of the most highly praised shonen arcs of all time. Now, I'm not saying all new shonen anime is bad, or that a lot of these shows even are bad. I like My Hero Academia. I like Black Clover. I don't like Jujutsu Kaisen. I think it's a bad show, but that's another video entirely. And there are, in fact, some shonen anime, some new gen shonen that do this right. May I introduce you to a lovely little show called Haikyuu. Haikyuu is a show about just a bunch of boys in their high school volleyball club getting together and practicing volleyball for competitions and for tournaments, and just learning from each other and growing as players. And the best example of moments that hit hard and shows that will be remembered is Tadashi's jump float. And I'm going to compare this again to probably one of the worst moments in one of the worst shows that I've seen in a while, Jujutsu Kaisen. Now, Tadashi is a character that is put to the side. He's barely even a side character. He doesn't show up that often, but over the course of many games, of many seasons, of many episodes, you see him practicing his jump float serve, practicing it, getting it better. Sometimes he gets put up and he tries it and he fails, and it doesn't really work out. You see him practicing it over a long time. A lot of time is devoted to the storyline of Tadashi practicing this jump float because it doesn't have a lot much else to contribute to the team. So when the time comes for Tadashi to finally stand up and proudly do his completed jump float serve and it work and aid in the team, it is a impactful, great moment.
Alright, so I've been trying to post a video with this for a while and it's just not working. This video was supposed to be up 2 weeks ago. But basically I was supposed to insert a clip of the jump float here so you could see how good of a moment this is. But I can't do that. So I have to, because they're flagging me for copyright. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to link the video, probably in the little card up there. So if you want to go watch it for yourself to see what I'm talking about, do that. But yeah, okay. On with the video. Cool, bye.
Works on every level. It's the smallest thing that will get you so hyped in the show and will allow you to remember this moment and appreciate a character that isn't even really even highlighted that much because the writer took the time to make sure this moment hit hard and they gave it the time to breathe. They didn't breathe past it. They didn't just have something happen. They didn't fake that they were going to highlight all these other characters. They actually did it and gave this character his proper time to shine. Now let's look at Jujutsu Kaisen in a very similar scenario. Itadori, during the, let's call it the JJK UA tournament arc, is shown to acquire a new skill known as Black Flash. Now Black Flash is told to us, the audience, as one of the hardest skills for any Jujutsu sorcerer to master. Now Itadori, any logical person, seeing that Itadori just learned about Jujutsu sorcery last week, would not be able to do this move at all. In fact, he should probably be nowhere near level to do one of the hardest moves in the entire verse. I repeat, one of the hardest moves in the entire verse. So tell me why this man gets up, walks over to the main villain, and does it not once, not twice, but 3 times in a row. 3 whole times. And while this may seem hype, to some people, this may seem like, oh, Itadori is really that man. And if you enjoy this, then more power to you. But I can't sit here and watch a show where they just randomly make up rules in the verse just to bring out empty, hollow moments that are supposed to be impactful. They're supposed to show character growth, supposed to show characters getting stronger and more powerful, but they're not earned. They haven't been given the proper time. They haven't been shown properly for when those moments to actually happen. They feel earned and they're allowed to breathe and exist and be memorable, as opposed to Tadashi's jump float, which sounds just so much more underwhelming, but when you watch the show, it's so much more rewarding to this character over arcs and arcs practicing this thing to finally be useful to the team. And it's such a much smaller task, but the way the story is written allows you to care about this character a lot more, and it makes the moment where he finally gets up and earns his place on the team with the jump float serve that much more memorable. And that's what I'm getting at here. Shonen anime doesn't need to be long as hell. It doesn't need to be a One Piece. You don't need to have a 1,000 episode runtime. You don't need to have a 700 episode runtime in order to give characters and shows the proper time to experience and create moments that will be memorable and long lasting and keep shows in people's minds. But a lot of the times, these newer shonen writers, they elect to create moments that, while in some cases can be good, like Deku versus Todoroki, step over the main purpose of what they should be trying to do. At the end of the day, will end up hurting the story more than helping it, because these shows, your Jujutsu Kaisens, your My Hero Academias, your Black Clovers, they're not going to be able to stand up. They're not going to be able to stand with the shows you remember. The reason why we remember the big 3, the reason why we remember Dragon Ball, the reason why we love these shows is because every time the character did something, every time the character got up and showed the main villain who was fighting, who they were. It was memorable, it was impactful, and it touched us. It touched the audience. Moments like Ichigo saving Rukia from the Sokyoku, moments like Naruto versus Sasuke are as impactful and as legendary as they are because the writers knew what they were doing. They were taking the proper time to develop their stories and show us and make sure that these moments they were building to, they finally arrived at, they didn't miss, they didn't ring hollow, they didn't feel unearned, because we saw the characters struggle, we saw them grow. And it doesn't matter if it's over 5 episodes, over 10 episodes, or over 40 episodes. If we don't see the character grow, if we don't see the character move, that time when they do a black flash, that time when that time when they fight in the tournament, we aren't going to care about these characters because they're not being shown the proper care that they need to make these stories as impactful as they can be. I want to like Jujutsu Kaisen, I really do, but if we're just gonna keep getting moments like this, then there's no reason for me to watch the show, because it's just there's nothing that really is impactful, nothing that's really gonna stick with you when after all is said and done. And if Shonen Anime doesn't start taking the proper time in a lot of these shows, then you might not get something as special as the big three ever again. That might have just been a one-time treat for us Shonen Anime fans. But those are just my thoughts. I want to hear what you think. If you like this type of content or serious stuff that we do, consider subscribing or doing all the YouTube things, whatever you want to do. If you don't like it, dislike it, and let me know why. But yeah, and until next time, end of video.